Welcome back to another wonderful Tuesday episode of World Traveler Cooking. Today we're going to do Tripe à la mode de Caen. This is a classic Norman dish, and it has all the hallmarks of Norman cooking, including both cider and calvados. Of course, being a tripe dish, it's made with cow stomach. Now, I probably could have gotten mixed tripe here. This is normally made with mixed tripe, but I got white tripe instead. So you can make it with either, but traditionally I think it's done with mixed tripe. I'm going to make a very simple one today. People add a bunch of other things to this as well. You can dress it up with carrots and maybe some 4-spice seasoning. But I'm going to do a very simple one today. So we have half a kilogram of beef tripe. We have stuff to make a boquet garni. I have a bay leaf and I have some thyme. I have a clove. This is one important aromatic. Normally I think you'd add about 3 large shallots, so I'm basically taking a nice big handful of small Indonesian shallots. I should probably add one more. Well, 2-3 cloves of garlic are probably good. 30 grams of butter, 200 milliliters of vegetable oil, somewhere like half a kilogram of potatoes also. You can go up to half a liter of cider. I might add some more, but I'm starting with 300 milliliters here. And then we have some calvados, probably add like 50 milliliters or so of that. So, first step is we're going to break this apart. It's still a little frozen. I'm going to cover it with water and I'm going to boil it for 10 minutes, no salt. So I've cut the tripe into pieces about yay big, so that it's reasonably easy to eat them afterwards. And now I've covered them with water. We'll bring this to a boil, and once it starts boiling, we'll boil it for 10 minutes, then we'll strain them. We will not use this water. Okay, you can see that this is boiling now, so I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes, and then once it goes off, we'll drain this, and then we'll start our next stage. In the meantime, I'm chopping the shallots and the garlic. And now, after 10 minutes, we are just going to drain this and set it aside for the next stage in cooking, and we will discard this water. So I'm going to start by taking my vegetable oil, and I'm going to add my butter to it. I'm going to heat these together for a few minutes. See how nice and soft that butter is. Then when it gets hot, I'm going to add the garlic, cloves, and shallots, and I'll fry those for a few minutes before I add the tripe. So we can see the butter liquids starting to boil. So now it's time to add our aromatics. And we'll stir these around for about 5 minutes. Could be a little more, could be a little less. But let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and do that for a bit. And I've decided to add the thyme and the bay leaf at this point too. Some recipes suggest doing it in a boquet garni later, but some suggest doing it now. So I'm going to do it now. You can see that everything's starting to become very translucent, and the onion or the shallots are starting to shrink a bit. Some people also add onions at this point, I think, but I'm guessing that the more traditional approach is just shallots. And I'm starting to see things start to brown, so my temperature's getting up there, so I'm going to add the tripe now. We'll stir this in for a bit. Then we'll add our calvados. You can flambe here, but since I'm working with a gas stove, I'm not going to. Next in will go our cider. But we're going to add some salt and pepper here first. So I just added the salt. I'm going to add some pepper. And then comes the cider. Alright, in goes the cider. That's smelling really good. I know you can't smell it on the other side of the video, but this is actually smelling really, really good. So, adding more of the cider. Some people reduce the cider. Keep in mind though that we are going to be boiling this for about 3 hours, so my preference is to reduce it at the end. That way things don't boil dry as easily, and you have a little more room to work with. So that's what we're going to do this time. And here we have our tripe, and we'll just let it, now we're going to cover it and we're going to let it simmer on a very low heat for about 3 hours. So now we're getting close, so I'm going to go ahead and start boiling the potatoes. Once the potatoes boil, I will boil them for 15 to 20 minutes max. And then we'll scrub them under water, cut them into pieces, and serve them with the tripe. Now the tripe, I did manage to burn just a little bit, but I think it's still going to be very delicious, so we will still eat it. In fact, maybe it's supposed to be that way, I'm not sure. After all, it's a very slow cooked dish with a lot of sugars, so you expect some caramelization. At any rate, be back once this is boiled. So, on to the presentation. Basically, we have our parboiled potatoes here. They should still be quite firm. And I'm just going to cut them into pieces in the bottom of the bowl. I'll spread these out, and then I'm going to serve some tripe on top. And spoon some of the juice on top because that's real important. Be right back. So here's our tripe à la mode de Caen. Next up, the taste test. This is a bit more caramelized than I've seen in pictures, but it actually is smelling really delicious, so I'm not expecting that to matter at all. Although some pictures I've seen have had it be very caramelized, so maybe this is fine. So, before I begin the taste test, I have to say I normally really don't like tripe, and I don't like tripe because it has a very strong flavor. This is smelling really, really good, and so I'm actually excited to try this. Besides, I've had a lot of really good Norman food. So this is definitely a little more caramelized than it should be. There's a little bit of bitterness to it, but not much. It's actually really mild, but it's really rich, which is kind of an interesting mixture there. Now I'm going to try some of this potato. The potato kind of rounds out the richness of the tripe. This is really, really good. Even if you don't like tripe, I highly recommend you try this dish sometime. It's absolutely delicious. Now, if you find this content interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. If you make a dish like this differently than I do, please post how in the comments, how you do it differently. I think we all get a lot out of those sorts of interchanges, so I always appreciate it. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.